Hi, how are you? Welcome back to my channel. So excited you're here because we're doing another reading vlog. And this time I'm reading American Psycho by Bret Easton Ellis. Also, I will be watching the movie a little later on, so stick around for that. And I'll probably do a little comparison between the book and the movie. Excited to finally be tackling this one. I feel like everybody's read it but me. One of those things. I don't know why it's taking me so long, but here we are. And I haven't seen the movie ever either. I've heard references to it. Otherwise, I don't really know much about it. I've kept myself in the dark as much as possible because I like to go into things knowing as little as possible. Also, really sorry about the lighting. It's dark. I wanted to read this in the dark. I wanted to read it at night and watch the movie at night. So I'm filming in the dark, so I don't have the natural light from the window like I normally do. I'm working with a ring light, so that's why it's so weird. I don't have it figured out. The ring light it sucks too. I don't have a great ring light. So, yeah, that's why it's weird, but whatever. Reading a creepy book, the lighting's kind of creepy. Whatever, we're working with it. Do what we can. Anyways, yeah, stick around. I will keep you updated. I am up to page 128 already, and wow, a lot has happened. I say a lot has happened. This is told in like stream of consciousness, sort of, and it's told in first person by Patrick Bateman, who is the main character. And everybody probably knows this story already, so I'm gonna pretend like you already know the story because I'm assuming you do. Patrick Bateman, he works on Wall Street. He's very successful. He basically has everything he could want. He has a nice apartment. He has a beautiful girlfriend. There's very nice suits and always dresses to the nines, you know, just dresses very well. And he's very meticulous, I would say. He's very meticulous with really everything, but his self-care routine, and he details his self-care routine down to the brand he uses for everything. And he details, you know, his you know, he goes to the gym, he works out, he gets massages, he gets facials, he gets manicures and pedicures, and he takes care of his skin, he takes care of his hair, he wears very nice clothes, and he pays very close attention to what everybody is wearing. And I mean everybody. Down to the brand and the material, the pattern, the color, everything. And he pays so close attention that people are always asking him for fashion advice. Like everybody's always calling him and asking like, hey, what is appropriate to wear with this? Or is it appropriate to wear these socks with these pants or whatever? So yeah, he is a man who knows his fashion and he knows what brand everybody's wearing and he details it in every interaction, every single interaction. It is very detailed. That probably drives some people crazy. That probably annoys some people when reading this book. They probably feel that that's monotonous, that's drags on, but I can see why it's written in there, and it shows a couple of different things. I feel like one, it shows how obsessive Bateman is, how meticulous he is, how obsessed he is with brands, how obsessed he and his circle are with appearances and just the consumerism in this. You know, they're all so obsessed with their looks, so they're so vain. They're very, very vain. And yeah, this just goes to show like how important this their look is and how important these brands are and how important it is for them to have the latest and greatest of everything. They have money to blow, so they blow it on useless things. They're always eating out at these fancy restaurants, and a big topic of discussion all the time is where we're eating. What is for dinner? Where are we eating? Where can we get a reservation? And it's always last minute reservations. It's always, where are we going right now? Like, who can get us in? Where can we go? Where can we get an 8 o'clock reservation tonight? And it has to be like the best, the hippest, the coolest spot. The food is very extravagant and it's very detailed about what they're eating and how expensive it is and how nice it is and the drinks and everything. Like, it's just, they have to get an appetizer, then they have to get the food, and then there's dessert and there's wine and champagne and whatever. So it's just all very extravagant. The characters in this are pretty insufferable. They're not likable. I don't think they're supposed to be likable. I think that's kind of the point. And so far, I feel like greed is a huge theme in this. Greed and jealousy, consumerism, obviously consumerism, but greed definitely. They're always trying to outdo each other all the time. Bateman especially, like, he will get so jealous if somebody else has something better than him or nicer than him. And I mean, he will obsess over it, and it drives him mad. The men are just, oh my gosh, they're always objectifying women, and it gets under my skin so bad. But yeah, it's who they are. It's who their characters are, but they're always objectifying women. And I mean, if a woman is 5 pounds overweight, like, just the way they talk about it is just, it's so ridiculous. They call women, like the good-looking women, hard bodies. And it's just so disgusting. Another thing I noticed is this definitely shows like a grittier side of New York. Not always the glamour, but it also shows like the grittier side of New York. And one thing that Bateman does is he will taunt homeless people, and he will like flaunt $1 in their face and be like, oh, do you need money? And he'll like put money in their face like he's gonna give it to them, and then he'll be like, oh no, and then he'll put it back in his pocket. And it is just so obnoxious, and it's just that classism. Like, he's this super loaded man, and then he sees somebody that really is in need, and he has money to give, and he doesn't give it. But it just goes to show that greed and that classism, and somebody that just has money to spare and just is blowing it all over New York on drugs and hookers and food, extravagant food and champagne and all these expensive suits, and can't spare $1 or won't spare $1. And not only that, but flaunts it, and just teases them with it. He will seem completely normal. He's somebody that's basically somebody that seems normal on the outside. He has everything that he could ever want. He's definitely not happy, and he's basically hiding in plain sight. He's somebody who, I know there's a lot of debate on this book. Is he a murderer? Is he not a murderer? Did he do it? Did he not do it? Is it all in his head? Is it not all in his head? And that's something that everybody has a debate about. Everybody has an opinion about. It's so interesting that no matter what he's saying, no matter what he's talking about, he has the exact tone throughout the whole book. To me, whether he's talking about a show or a play, music, the news, whether he's talking about the restaurant that they're going to, no matter what he's talking about, or he's talking about what evil, vile thing he wants to do to somebody, it's the same tone. It never changes. It's just all in the same sort of paragraph. It'll all be in the same paragraph even. It's not even split up, in the same tone. And that is so interesting to me. But I know, like, I'm going to go back to page 19. That's when it first, like, slipped out, because he will just seem so normal, and then this darkness appears out of nowhere. This darkness just slips out of nowhere. But page 19, his girlfriend calls him a boy next door. That's what she keeps calling him. Evelyn is his girlfriend. She says, "Patrick is not a cynic, Timothy. He's the boy next door, aren't you, honey?" "No, I'm not," I whisper to myself. "I'm a fucking evil psychopath." And that's when it first, like, slips out, and it's on page 19, and it first slips out. And that touch of darkness kind of starts, like, just slips out of nowhere. It just comes out. By page 57, he says something nasty to the bartender, but it's more like he says it where she, like, can't hear him. He basically says what he would like to do to her, and it's pretty twisted and effed up what he wants to do to her, but he says it where it's muffled by the music. So he kind of says it to where she can't hear him. And so it's like he says these things to where he says them out loud, but to where really they're not heard. Of course, this is set in the 80s. There's a lot of pop culture references, and that's really, I really enjoy that setting. It's very 80s. Another thing, he and his friends are all very, like, racist and homophobic. They're always saying these racist or homophobic things, and they're just really not good, not great characters. Like, you really don't like them, or I really don't like them. They're not good. They're not great people, and you're not supposed to like them. Like, they're not great. Another thing that I've noticed throughout, one, he's obsessed with Donald Trump. I don't know what his obsession is with Donald Trump. I'm assuming because, like, in this, like, Donald Trump is to him like a successful businessman and somebody that he looks up to, is my assumption, is why he's so obsessed with him. But he's obsessed with Donald Trump. Another thing that I've noticed throughout is Les Miserables is mentioned, like, all over, whether that be an ad on the side of a bus, or there will be, like, a poster mentioned, or there was, like, a torn playbill, whatever. But I've seen that mentioned so many times, and I think that's going to be a recurring theme in this as well. I've never seen the musical, but I'm sure there's something to that. I'm sure there is, and I don't know what it is. I'll have to see the musical in order to let you know at a later date, like, what the connection is between that musical and this book, but I'm sure there is something. Up until so I stopped here because up until this recent, like, just this last scene that I read, the violence was pretty much off page until this last scene, and then all of a sudden it was like, oh, there it is, okay. Because I kept hearing this book is described as violent, and I'm thinking, okay, so far it's been off page, but then, oh, there it is. And it's pretty violent, and all of a sudden I'm like, okay, there it is. And yeah, so yeah, there's this whole scene, and I won't tell you anything else about that, but because I don't want to give anything away, but it's no longer off page. It's very descriptive, it's very gory, it's very gruesome, and very, very violent. And yeah, and it's not just people, and I'll just leave it at that. So if you're sensitive to that sort of thing, I am, but I'm gonna keep trucking along. And I'm on page 128 now. I think I said that, and I'll keep you updated. made it to 205, so I'm a little over halfway through. Okay, so a few things I've noticed, and I've made a few notes so I don't forget. Because if I had checked in every single time I had a thought, I would be checking in all the time. So I just made some notes so I don't forget anything. So if I ever look over here, it's because I have notes. Just so you know. But a few things I've noticed. He will, I told you that his tone is always the same no matter what he's talking about, and he'll have all these random, like, this is stream of consciousness style, but he'll have all these thoughts in the same paragraph, like all these random thoughts. But it doesn't matter like what wild thing he's thinking of. Like, it could be what he's thinking of doing to somebody, and it could be the most horrific thing ever. Then he'll have this random thought about the Patty Winter show. And he kind of obsesses over the Patty Winter show too. He watches it every day, usually. His mind will wander while he's talking to someone. And like, he'll be talking to someone and his mind will drift off. And all of a sudden I'll say, on the Patty Winter show today, or on the Patty Winter show this morning. And you get that, I mean, you get like a daily account of what was on the Patty Winter show this morning. So it'll just be randomly thrown in there, no matter what he's thinking, what is going on. You'll get the account of like what was on the Patty Winter show this morning. So he kind of obsesses over that. Another thing I noticed is that people are constantly being confused with other people, like in his circle. So this, like, the first time I thought, okay, whatever. But then it kept happening, and I thought, this is a thing. Like, this is just a thing that happens all the time in their circle. I don't know why. But they will just, oh, that's so-and-so. No, that's not. That's this person. No, that's this person. You're getting it wrong or whatever. And it happens all the time. They're constantly mistaking people for other people. Another thing, Patrick himself, people are constantly mistaking him for other people as well. Like, he's constantly being called other people's names, and he'll just go with it. Like, at one point, somebody called him, what was the name? I don't remember what the name was, but he just went along with it. And they're like, oh, yeah, you should meet me for whatever, and you should bring Cecilia. Thinking he's this other person, and Cecilia's this other person's girlfriend. He's like, oh yeah, I'll bring Cecilia. How's Cecilia doing? Oh, she's great. He just went along with it, which is interesting. But it's no different than him and his circle constantly mistaking other people as well. So it's just a thing that they all do, and I don't understand why. I don't know what the deal is with that. I don't know if that's because these things are in his head. I don't know if it's because they're not really happening. I don't know if it's because, like, this is like a dream state. I don't know. It's an odd thing. There was a whole like, I don't want to say spoilers, but there was a whole like sort of manic episode with him. Like, he had this whole like panic attack, and he had a whole manic episode where he like calmed himself down by buying something that he didn't need, and it was like a whole situation. The interesting thing is, like, the chapter just ended mid-sentence. Like, it just mid-sentence, end, chop. Like, okay, I don't know where that was going. Just ended like abruptly. So that was interesting. But it's because this is like stream of consciousness style. Like, I'm just never gonna know how that chapter ended. It was just like, meh, done. So that was interesting. But it's because, I guess, because his state was so manic and all over the place, and he was in such a state that the thought just ended abruptly. And, I said before that he has these very dark thoughts, but he says them in a way that nobody can hear. Like, he says it when the music drowns him out, or he says it like under his breath, or he whispers it or whatever, to where nobody around can hear. They're like his thoughts. Well, there is a moment in here where he actually says the thought out loud to his friends, but they take it as a joke. Like, they take it as he's just kidding. He's playing, and they laugh, and so they don't take him seriously at all. So the thoughts are becoming like out loud at this point. At least that's what it says. Like, he says them out loud. Like, it says that he's saying them out loud. And then where I'm at now, and this is why I wanted to stop, because again, like, this ended at an interesting spot. There's a part where his girlfriend is at his house, and he tells her that he thinks that she should go home. And he tells her, I think I might hurt you. I don't think I can control myself. And then she says, okay, sure, I don't want to get too involved anyway. And then he says, I think something bad is going to happen. And she says, I understand. And he says, you don't want to get hurt, do you? And she says, that's why I'm leaving. And he says, I think I'm losing it. But that whole thing was kind of odd to me because, like, that was just such a, like, non-reaction from her. Like, she's just like, oh, okay. Like, that's it? Like, you're just gonna take that? Like, you're just gonna be like, okay, sure. I would have had so many questions. I would just, I don't know. I wouldn't have just taken that and just, I don't know. I would have had questions. I would have had so many questions if somebody told me that. I mean, I would have been like, are you okay? Do you need help? Like, can I do anything? Anything, like, besides, oh, okay, I understand, I'll leave. Like, I don't know, just such an odd reaction to that. I wouldn't want to get hurt either. Like, sure, I'll leave, but, like, can I get you any help? Like, something. It was just such an odd reaction from her. I guess I don't know. But I guess that's just the kind of people that he's around. That's just the kind of people, they're all just so self-centered, maybe. Maybe she's just as self-centered as he is and just doesn't care about anybody else, maybe. And that's just who they are. But I mean, me as a person, I would have been like, what can I do to help you? Like, can I get you some help? At that point, if somebody told me that, that would have been my reaction. Like, how can I help you? Like, it's okay, I'll leave, I understand, but how can I help you? Can I get you some help? Because, like, if somebody told me that, my automatic reaction is, this person needs help. But these people aren't like that. These people are super self-centered and self-involved, and I guess maybe that's, I don't know, but that was just such an odd reaction to me. Unless maybe he didn't really say that. I don't know, but it was just a very odd reaction. Anyways, about halfway through, I'm gonna end it for tonight. It's getting kind of late and I'm tired, and then I will pick this back up tomorrow and I'll keep you updated. It is the next evening. I'm about to get to it and I will keep you updated. I should be able to finish this tonight, starting a little later than I expected to, so I apologize. I say in advance, but it's gonna be late. It's gonna be a late apology for you, but most likely this is not gonna be posted on time because with editing and everything, I don't think this is gonna be posted by Friday. It'll probably be Saturday, so I apologize, but it'll be worth it. So anyways, I'm going to finish this today. We'll see how the updates fall, but I'll keep you updated. I actually finished this. I didn't do great at updating this time, but I did go ahead and finish this. It was really good. I have so much to say. I probably can't say a lot of it. I know that everybody knows this story. Everybody's probably seen the movie but me, but I'm still trying to be careful of spoilers. I have a lot to say. I have a lot of thoughts. There's so much to unpack here. There's just so much to it. There's so much I want to say, but also want to be careful of spoilers in case there are people that are going to be watching this that haven't read it yet. But yeah, anyways, so a couple things that I want to note. And he's in a men's room at a restaurant. Of course he's at a restaurant, and he notices a crack like above the urinal, and he says, I stare into a thin web-like crack above the urinal's handle and think to myself that if I were to disappear into that crack, say somehow miniaturize and slip into it, the odds are good that no one would notice I was gone. No one would care. In fact, some, if they noticed my absence, might feel an odd, indefinable sense of relief. This is true. The world is better off with some people gone. I mean, it kind of shows where his headspace is. There's other instances too. He doesn't feel loved and, you know, accepted, and doesn't feel like he fits in. Like he just wants to, he mentions in here at one point that he just wants to fit in, and he doesn't feel that. There's a part in here where he's asked why he doesn't quit his job, because he's obviously not happy there, and his answer is that he wants to fit in. So it goes along with that part. There's a certain person in here. So that's the thing. It kind of depends on who he's around. He's different people depending on who he's around. And like there's certain people that he is, I think, more himself around. And there's certain people that he definitely puts on more of a front around. And there's a certain part in here, a certain moment where I think he's more himself. And this person where he has these dark thoughts and all that, I don't think that's really him. I really don't. But there's a moment in here where he meets up with somebody from his past. And I won't say who, but he is this super anxious, nervous, shy person, and he's so on edge with this person. And I'm just thinking, you know, I feel like that's the real him. I feel like that's the person he really is that really shy, on edge person, not that arrogant, cocky, overly confident person that's the rest of the book. I feel like that moment was more him than any of the other times. I really do. And the times when he is also at the beginning of the book, I feel like maybe it was more him, but still not as much as that moment. He was just so anxious and almost dorky, kind of. But he was just so nervous to see this person, and I feel like that was more him. That moment was just, I felt like more raw and more vulnerable for him. That vulnerable side of him that you don't really ever see in the rest of the book. There's another moment where this person asks if he's seeing anyone, and he says, no, I'm not really. I mean, does anyone really see anyone? Does anyone really see anyone else? Did you ever see me? See? What does that mean? Ha, see. Ha, I just don't get it. Ha, I laugh. And that kind of goes along with he doesn't feel like anybody sees the real him, I think, which is so true, because I don't think he does let anybody see the real him at all, ever. in maybe in rare instances. There are a lot of little, I feel like there are a lot of little clues in here, and a lot of little clues about you have a lot of little clues that could go either way on if these things are really happening, if they're all in his head. There are a lot of moments of him hallucinating. There are a lot of moments of him like saying, am I dreaming this? Is this really happening? And then there are some things that will make you question, like, maybe this is really happening. You know what I mean? Because some of it is like, wow, did that happen? Because, I have my own thoughts on it. I definitely do have my own thoughts on it, as far as if it's really happening or if it's all in his head. There's this part that where he's kind of explaining his like feelings and how like he's kind of describing himself. There wasn't a clear identifiable emotion within me except for greed and possibly total disgust. I had all the characteristics of a human being: flesh, blood, skin, hair, but my depersonalization was so intense, had gone so deep, that the normal ability to feel compassion had been eradicated, the victim of a slow, purposeful erasure. I was simply imitating reality, a rough resemblance of a human being, with only a dim corner of my mind functioning. Something horrible was happening, and yet I couldn't figure out why. I couldn't put my finger on it. So, yeah, he's just he's got a lot going on in his brain. I said earlier that he had said something dark with his friend group, and then they all laughed thinking it was a joke. There's another moment later on that happens again. He says something dark, and they all take it as a joke again. It's like he's trying to tell them, they're not getting it. I know I'm all over the place with this. It's just because I have a lot of notes. He also makes a comment where he says, "I just want to be loved." But yet he doesn't make himself lovable. He doesn't put himself out there though to be loved. I don't understand that. Like, you just want to be loved, but then you don't try to be lovable. You don't try to put yourself out there at all. You don't show anybody the real you at all. And then randomly, this crazy ass thing happens. Another really wild kill scene happens. And in the middle of this really wild scene, the book switches to third person. This whole time he's been narrating himself. All of a sudden it switches to third person, and he's talking about himself in third person. And it happens, he does this for 3 pages. And then when everything calms down, when things kind of level back out, he switches back to first person, which says a lot. And I have theories about that. But it's interesting, that switch, and that just makes me wonder more about, it just goes to show his mental state in that moment. And like, there's 2 different personalities happening in there or something. Like, you know, it's almost like 2 personalities are happening in his head. There are 2 people in there. That's what it reminds me of. There are 2 people in there, and he's switching back and forth between those 2 people. That's what that's what it reminds me of. This one is this dorky, nervous, shy, very self-conscious, and then the other one is this very confident, vain, meticulous, like very self-centered and overly confident, arrogant person. Like, there's 2 sides, and that the latter is the one that is the homicidal, and I feel like, and I think there are the 2 sides. So yeah, I think there maybe he has the 2, maybe there are 2 personalities happening there. I don't know, maybe. And that's just my take. But whenever it flipped to that third person, I was like, okay, maybe. And then I kept wondering, how come we have not heard anything about his family? How come his family isn't in this? How come he doesn't even talk about his family? But toward the end, we do get glimpses into his past a little tiny bit. And toward the end, his mom does make an appearance. And not a big appearance. We don't get much. We get some, a little bit. I kind of would have liked to have a little bit more of his past and how he ended up the way he is. And just, I get fascinated with these kinds of stories, and fascinated with how the human mind works, but I want to know why. What makes people tick? Like, what makes people this way? I'm hella curious. I would have liked a little bit more of that. I'm just super curious about it. We only got a little bit. Just a tiny bit. There was one other instant, a tiny little instant, where the third person came out a little bit. It was like his other personality came out a little bit. And he said, "You shouldn't fawn over him. I mean me, you shouldn't fawn over me." It was like, okay, there it was. It's like he forgot for a minute. It was like, oh wait, no, me. No, not him, me. So that was interesting. Also, there's a part in here where Jean confesses that she loves him, and he tells her that he loves somebody else. You know, he had an opportunity to have sex with her the first time they went out, because he had asked her out before, earlier on in the book, and now she's confessed her feelings to him, and he tells her he's in love with somebody else. And that first time that he took her out, you know, he could have very easily had sex with her, and he chose not to. And he treats her completely differently than he treats other girls. And I feel like, I mean, he's made a couple little comments, like he told her, you know, don't wear that outfit again, don't wear that again, or whatever. But otherwise, or he says you're prettier than that. But I mean, he doesn't really pay women compliments like that. He doesn't really talk to women that way. He really treats her differently than other women. And for him to not have sex with her when he had the opportunity, and for him to not drag her along when he could have, I feel like says a lot. I feel like she's really the one that he actually does have feelings for, and he's afraid. Because when she confessed her feelings to him, he could have dragged her along, and that's something that he normally would do. That's something he would normally have played with her feelings, because that's who he is. He drags everybody else along. He has a fiance, and he has a girl on the side, and he's offing hookers and everything else. You know, he has no moral compass. So for him to admit to her, hey, I have somebody else. But I feel like Jean's the only one that he really has feelings for, because he treats her completely differently than anybody else. And he asked her out, and the way he treats her is just wildly different. He tries so hard. He tried so hard to get reservations for her, and he was really nervous about getting reservations, and he tried really hard. And I don't feel like he has acted that way with other girls, aside from just trying to not have them their paths accidentally crossed. Other than that, he really doesn't care. So I feel like Jean would have been the one. I feel like Jean's the one that he actually cared about. You know how on the scene where, you know, he finally is on, like, there's that whole, he just offed somebody, right? And he actually gets busted. Like, the police actually, I say busted, the police actually witnessed it. And so he gets in this crazy shootout with the police, and he escapes narrowly. And he is freaking out. He calls Harold on the phone, and he confesses everything on Harold's machine. And then he sees Harold afterwards, and he says, hey, did you get my message? And Harold's like, oh, that was you? Harold doesn't believe him. He's talking to him like he's not Patrick Bateman, like he's somebody else. And he's like, oh, that was you? That was hilarious. He was like, he says Bateman would never do that. Bateman's too dorky. Bateman, he doesn't have it in him. He would never do that. And he's talking to Bateman like he's somebody else again. And Bateman's like, dude, I'm Bateman, and I did it. Like, I did do that. And he's like, I don't know why you don't believe me. I did it. And the guy's like, no, you didn't. I just saw that guy in London. Like, I just saw him in London. Like, there's no way. I just saw Paul in London. Like, there's no way you killed him. I just had dinner with him. I just had lunch with him. So then that's when he starts questioning everything. Like, wait, did I do it? Like, how did he just have lunch with him? Like, I just offed him. I don't understand. Like, did I dream that? What happened? I don't understand. So that's one of those moments where it's like, okay, maybe he didn't do it. That's interesting. Maybe he didn't do it. And then he starts losing it at that point. And, he's like, he thinks the automated teller is speaking to him, telling him to do stuff. He thinks park benches are following him around, telling him to do stuff. He's really losing it at this point. Like, things aren't really, like, things had already started. He'd already started to lose it, but he's really losing it, thinking inanimate objects are speaking to him. Inanimate objects are telling him to do things. And he's really, like, losing it. And then there's a poetic ending. The ending was really good. The ending really tied into the beginning. The ending just, that final line just really sealed it. The final line, the final paragraph, all of it just went right into the beginning, and it made perfect sense. Sorry if you can hear Discord's like going crazy on the computer. It was so good. So good. I have so much to say. I could go on and on, like, about all the things and all the different little clues and all the different things in this book. It was really good. I think it's timeless. I really do. I think it's going to be a classic forever. It's going to be one that people are going to read forever and enjoy it forever. It's very timeless, even though it's set in the 80s. It's very 80s. I love the pop references, and I still think it's timeless. I think it's still important, and it's even more so important now, I think. It's crazy. It's wild. Do I think he really did those things? Do I think it was all in his head? I think he has, like, a second personality, or like an alter ego. and that's why he doesn't remember. Now, whether or not he actually did it, I kind of think no. I don't think he did it because of the fact there's too many ways, like, for him to just completely get away with all this, whenever there are so many scenes of him with, like, arguing with the dry cleaners about all this blood on his clothes and on the sheets, like, how, like, this is just, like, you can't, this is not beyond hiding in plain sight. He's, like, walking around with blood on his clothes, like, out in public. He's getting in shootouts with cops. He's killing people in, like, broad daylight, and he's offing people left and freaking right, and not subtly. And he's saying things that aren't subtle to people in public. But some of the things he's doing is so out there. Also, there are a lot of, like, time jumps. Like, it went from Christmas to June, and I'm like, how did that happen? Then there's just a lot of just absurd, like, some of the killings, the way they happen, and some of the details, I was like, how did that, how? Some of the details was, like, pretty wild, and I'm like, I don't see how that was possible. So I kind of think it's all in his head, and it's almost like an alter ego thing, and something he really wants to do. He wants to have the capability. I think he wants to have this, the wish is there. He wants to be capable, because I think really these awkward, dorky moments are the real him. And I think he wants to have the balls to do it because I think he wants to be able to stand up for himself. I think he wants not just stand up for himself. I think he has these tendencies, but he doesn't have the balls to act on them, I think. Because that dorky, self-conscious, very high-strung, very anxious person is the real him. And that he has, like, an alter ego or a second personality or something, and that one almost, like, wants to take over, but this other side of him is, like, stopping that one from taking over or something like that. That's where my mind is at. Anyways, that's my idea. All in all, I think it's brilliant. I think it perfectly captures greed and capitalism, and oh man, the homophobia and the racism was, like, obnoxious. The sexism, the objectifying women was disgusting. They were just disgusting human beings, and yeah, but fascinating. Fascinating how the human mind works, and I think Bret Easton Ellis is a genius. I think this was very well written, and I was absolutely fascinated my whole way through this. I was enthralled, really. I just couldn't put it down. I had to know what was going to happen next, and I'm really interested in the movie now. So I'll be watching that now, and I will let you know, keep you updated, let you know how it goes. So I finished the movie. Wasn't as good as the book, but they rarely are. It was good. It was really good. And they did really good with casting, and they did really good. It felt very 80s. Felt very, very 80s, which makes sense. The soundtrack was not what I expected. Not in a bad way. It was very upbeat. Some of the scenes I was like, this music is very upbeat. The book just has a lot more layers and a lot more depth to it, which makes sense. I mean, you have to fit so much into, an hour and a half or 2 hours, however long the movie is. You have to fit so much into that time frame. So I get it. I think it's like an hour and a half. So I understand why the book would have so much more depth to it. You're just missing out on a lot if you were to just watch the movie. There's just a lot you're getting with the book. The kill scenes in the movie, there weren't as many of them, I didn't feel like, and they were very mild compared to the book. The book was horrific. They were very gruesome, they were gory, they were very detailed, and the movie was very mild in comparison. There's one scene in the movie, like one of the where he's offing somebody, and he is just before he does it, he has this very comical, very upbeat voice, like almost newscastery, and it is hysterical. It was very funny, and that is not what I envisioned at all in my mind when I was reading the book. That did not ever pop into my mind. That voice did not ever click when I was reading the book, ever. So now I'm like, I don't know if I read the character wrong or what, but I took the whole tone of the book way more serious. The movie was almost comedic in a lot of it. And yeah, there were some comedic places in the book. Like there were some parts that were kind of funny, but not like that. Like it was way more comedic in the movie. So I don't know if I read it wrong or just didn't catch it like that in the book. And it just goes to show, like, everybody can take different meaning from it, and everybody can just experience a book differently. But yeah, that did not come across in the book to me the way it did in the movie. It was so comedic. But yeah, he is a great actor. He did excellent with that character. Absolutely. I think it was more terrifying to have him with that newscastery voice before he offed that person. Absolutely terrifying. Yeah, the movie was good. It just, you're missing out a lot of layers and a lot of just a lot of those hints and a lot of those did he, didn't he, you're missing out on a lot of that's in the book. But yeah, it was still good though. I'd still recommend it. I'd still recommend both of them highly. They're both very good. And I could see why they're classics. I could see why people are still talking about them. I could see them still being talked about years from now. They're excellent. So, thank you so much for watching this. I really appreciate it. Sorry if this was long. I feel like it's going to be because I had so much to say. Obviously, this is going to be a one-book vlog. I'm exhausted. No way this is going to happen in time because it's late and it's not going to be edited in time. I'm really tired. Next week, I will have my Halloween-a-thon TBR, and possibly, I haven't decided yet, but there may be 2 videos next week. I may have a Halloween haul, as in Halloween decor haul. We'll see. I haven't decided if I'm putting that out separately or if I'm gonna wait and just do like a Halloween decorating video and just have it all together. I don't know if I'm gonna have 2 separate videos for that because I have a lot of stuff. It's not really stuff I've bought. It's more like gifted and free things that I've gotten. I've lucked out. It's not a lot, but it's quite a few things. So I thought about doing a video just so I could show you because some of it like does stuff and lights up and things. So anyways, we'll see. I may do two videos next week. Anyhow, I will see you next Friday, possibly earlier. We'll see. But bye for now.